let's talk metaphors for how OCD can feel when you have it. OCD is so misunderstood that I think it's so important to kind of share exactly what it can feel like so people who don't have it can understand. So I'm going to try to put it in the best way possible for somebody who might not have OCD. Or if you do have OCD, to maybe feel less alone in your symptoms and what you're feeling. The first one, have you ever gotten really, really bad news and your body just reacts and you're like, oh my God, and you just feel so hopeless and helpless. You just don't know what to do. When you have OCD, our bodies react to news like they're happening in real time. Like that is actually a genuine situation about to happen. In my head, I'm like, if you do not tap the table 4 times, your family's gonna die. I feel that anxiety, that level of anxiety, like somebody was telling me that real life holding a gun to my family. That is how my body is reacting. And so people are like, oh my God, you're being so overdramatic, or like, just stop thinking about it. I understand that, but like when my body reacts that way, obviously my mind is going to think there's something wrong. So to cope with those thoughts of something bad's going to happen to your family or something bad's going to happen to you, we use the compulsions to help self-soothe, and then we create this pathway in our brain that the only reason we were okay is because we self-soothed through a compulsion, mental or physical. And then exposure and response prevention therapy is where we kind of cross this other bridge, which I like to call the reality bridge. I like to say that every single time you cross the reality bridge, you add a layer, making that bridge feel stronger and you can trust it more. Where the OCD bridge, you've been crossing this bridge for years, so it seems so secure and so sturdy. Like, look at all this proof that I have that a bad thing never happened because I did the compulsion. Right, but it didn't not happen because you did the compulsion. We're trying to prove to ourselves, we're trying to move all of these layers over here to the reality bridge. So every single time, just remember, every single time you do a compulsion, you're adding to that OCD bridge versus the reality bridge. The second one is a sports metaphor. And you know, guys are like, if I wear this jersey, my team will win. If I change seats during the game, they're not gonna score. Oh my God, we lost because I didn't do the pre-game ritual. Imagine that for every single element of your life. Logically, you know, you moving seats is not the reason that they scored, but you feel that because you didn't do the pre-game ritual, that's why Tom Brady just fumbled the ball, or whatever sport you watch. You know, on some level it's kind of irrational, but like not doing it causes a real amount of discomfort or even like guilt. So you do it just in case. OCD is kind of like that, but only more distressing, higher stakes, and almost with every single element of your life, depending on how intense your OCD is. If I don't check the door 5 times, something bad's gonna happen. If I think a bad thought and don't neutralize it, I'm a bad person. Or if I think a bad thought and don't do a good act, I'm a bad person. All of those things, every single element of every single part of my life was dictated by these thoughts. So I love to use the sports metaphor because guys are like, oh wait, that makes so much sense. I'm like, I know, it does make sense, doesn't it? My next metaphor is, imagine there is a constant horror movie playing in your head. I had a lot of really graphic, intrusive thoughts and images. Some people just have thoughts, some people just have images. I got both. And I also have a very vivid imagination because I have ADHD. Like, I would always be going like this because of how intrusive and awful the things my brain would make up, and so graphic. Oh my God, they're so graphic. It's almost like watching a horror movie because you feel like you don't have much control over it and it just can come out of nowhere. It's almost like you're watching a horror movie on a loop and it just won't turn off. The intrusive thoughts equal a jump scare. You're like, you know, and you can't turn it off. Like, you're just living your life and then bam, you're like, whoa. You're in the grocery store and you're like, cool, guess this apple triggered me. Gotta put it back and can't eat apples anymore. So then once again, to make it stop, we go back to our coping mechanisms, which is our compulsions, mental or physical. For me, sometimes I would sing a song consistently in my head if there were intrusive thoughts. And the last metaphor that I want to say is phantom tingles or burning sensations. I came up with the term phantom tingles like a few years ago because it was the best way that I could describe what I was feeling when somebody emotionally contaminated touched me and then, you know, left. Because it felt like it was tingling. And I got the term because of phantom pain, because I used to be obsessed with Bethany Hamilton, who had her arm eaten by a shark, and she used to talk about how she didn't have much phantom pain, you know, and all of that stuff. And I kind of looked into it because I was interested in it, and I was like, that's kind of how I feel, like that their hand is still on me, but it's like tingly. Like I still feel like something's there, you know, and I can't get it off until I do a compulsion, until I wash it, or until I bump into somebody else. And then sometimes when it's really intense, it feels like it's burning, and that's really uncomfortable. Like even now, like even talking about it, my hand feels tingly. This doesn't really feel that tingly, but this side is not tingly because I feel like it needs to be equal. Like I feel like I want to touch this side now because it feels uneven, but obviously now I'm just gonna, like this, my hand is so tingly right now just because doing that and talking about it and actively like focusing my my thoughts on it. If your fear is germs, if you touch something with germs, like you feel like your hand could be like on fire. It mostly happens to me if I bump into somebody on the train that I thought was scary, then I'll purposely bump into somebody else to transfer the contamination onto them, and then the tingles will stop. Or if I touch something that I don't like, I can also wash my hands, and sometimes it's not enough, so I'll have to wash them again, or all of that kind of stuff. Or take a shower. Like I used to feel like my whole body was tingling after I came home from school, and I would drop all of my stuff, and I would go upstairs and take a shower, and if I had to touch something in my backpack, I'd have to religiously wash my hands a few times because it felt so tingly and I couldn't stand it because it was so annoying. But one of my first OCD videos that did really, really well was when I used the term phantom tingles, and I remember reading the comments being like, oh my god, this happens to me too, like all of this stuff, and I was like, okay, cool, because I'm like, am I crazy? It's like, don't answer that. But yeah, I was like, oh my god, okay, I'm so glad that other people are relating to that, because I was kind of unsure if I was like the only person that felt that way, that specific OCD symptom, and I'm very much not. Like, so I thought that I would share that one as well, even though it might not be the case for every single person with OCD. But yeah, I hope that this kind of helped you understand what exactly is going on in our brains and how our brains are wired, and how we have kind of not intentionally helped to make it worse, and what we could do to make it better, which is exposure and response prevention therapy. If you or somebody that you know is struggling with OCD, go to NOCD.com today, and you can literally schedule a free consultation call with them to learn more. Thank you so much for listening. I hope that this helped a bit.